I hope you're ready, Madness, for 3 short creepypastas. Truth or dare? Okay, now it's your turn, Chloe cheered loudly. Shh, you're going to wake up your mum, said Chrissy. Oops, sorry. So, truth or dare? Truth. Chrissy seemed to be hesitating, but Chloe couldn't have it. Why truth? That's boring. You never pick dare. Chicken. But Chicken! Chicken! Chloe crossed her arms and turned away. Fine. Dare then. What do you want me to do? I want you to go to my mother's room, flicker the lights, and slam the bedroom door shut. Chloe pointed towards the door in the hallway, right next to Chloe's bedroom facing the stairs. Just to scare my mother, because she forbade us to talk so late at night. Are you sure? Asked Chrissy. Won't I get caught? Maybe she'll find out we've been up all this time. Maybe she'll get mad. And maybe I won't be able to come out anymore. Why, of course not, silly. She'll probably blame me anyways. Now, go for it. Chrissy went into the hallway, and as Chloe said, she flickered the lights, closed the bedroom door with a loud slam. Enjoying the sound of her mother's loud gasp and returning to Chloe's bedroom, closing the door behind her, they giggled together about what Chrissy just did. The giggling stopped when Chloe's mother had found her way to the hallway, stomping towards Chloe's room frustrated. Chloe quickly gathered the Ouija board, candles, books, and other micmac, threw it in a corner, jumped in her bed and pretended to be asleep. Her mother opened the door, about to say something but didn't. She sighed, stood there for a second, then closed the door again. She retrieved to her bedroom, went back to sleep, keeping the lights on and the doors closed this time. After a few minutes, Chloe crawled out of bed quietly, grabbed the Ouija board, and searched the ground for the playing chart. She then sat down in the middle of the room again, lighting 4 candles and spelling out the words. That was a close call on the Ouija board. Kids in the dark. Growing up in the deep south meant sharing a lot with my little brother Ollie. Most often, we'd pass toys, clothes, and skin conditions between us. Up until he was 6, we even shared a bed. Neither of us was happy about that. It was my 10th birthday when that changed. I got one present that year, and it was a bed of my own. Ollie was jealous right away, and I could understand why. He had to keep that half-broken down frame with the worn-out mattress. The one I'd gotten wasn't much better, but not being broken and worn was enough. Sleeping apart was a great feeling. It was freedom. No longer would I have to suffer the sudden and inexplicable kicks to the stomach. No longer would I wake up with Ollie's foot pressed into my neck like he'd stepped on Dracula the night before. At least, that's what I thought. Right away, right after I got the new bed, the shriek started. At first I thought Ollie woke up in the middle of the night and screamed because he'd gotten scared. Then the sound echoed through the tiny room again, and I knew it wasn't a normal cry. The room was always black as pitch after sunset. The one window we had was pressed against a long-leaf pine, and even the biggest, brightest moon cast no light inside. The shriek just about drove me crazy. Every night, probably at the same exact time, these sharp yelps would knock me right out of my dreams. It wasn't my mum or dad yelling either. I knew what that sounded like. Believe me. Most worrying of all was the fact I could never tell where it was coming from. It seemed completely random. One night, it had come from somewhere near the closet. The next, it had shoot out from a corner of the ceiling. Any hope I'd had of having my own space would get dashed. Every time, as Ollie would silently slip into the bed with me, shaking like crazy. He'd clasp onto me and wouldn't let go until it was almost daybreak. Most times I'd take his hand and tell him everything was going to be okay, that it'd be over by morning. But I was never really sure. Over time, the shrieks started changing. At first it was only by small degrees, but eventually it took on the primal hooting sound of a primate calling out its fierce warning. I had to clasp pillows to my ears just to keep me from going deaf. Mum and Dad never believed me or Ollie, basically because the thing, whatever it was, refused to make a peep when they were in the room. Apparently, they couldn't even hear it through the walls, even though it was damn sure loud enough. The shriek just got worse and worse until I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. Me and Ollie were doing really bad in school, and we just had no energy at all. I could sleep more deeply with my head propped up and eyes open in the middle of class than in my own room at night. Then, thankfully, we moved out of the house nearly a year later. I had contemplated all sorts of things, even a child's clumsy concept of suicide, to get away from the horrific nightly noise. There was no problem at the next house. It was a nice white cookie-cutter home on a dead-end street, and I welcomed the normalcy. What's more, when we moved in there was a bunk bed waiting for me and Ollie. No more broken bed, no more second bed. I ended up having to share anyway. The only problem was deciding who'd get the top bunk. I told Ollie I deserved it. After all, I had gotten a new bed way back, and he ruined it by climbing in every night. What? He shook his head. I never did that. I had always wondered why the noise stopped the second I was sharing my bed. Now I had the answer. The bad dream. Daddy, I had a bad dream. You blink your eyes and pull upon your elbows. Your clock glows red in the darkness. It's 3:23. Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it? No, Daddy. The oddness of the situation wakes you up more fully. You can barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness of your room. Why not, sweetie? Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing Mummy's skin sat up. For a second, you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off of your daughter. The covers behind you begin to shift. I hope you all aren't too scared by those creepypastas. Leave a like if you enjoyed watching, and leave a comment down below if you want me to do more creepypastas in the future. And subscribe to join the madness today. We're all beautiful people here. And as always, madness, stay crazy and I love you all. Pleasant dreams.